Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the special council meeting of Monday, June 14th, 2021 to order. First off, is there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we just need a mover and seconder for approval of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Bain, seconder Councillor Sharp. Moved by Councillor Bain, second by Councillor Sharp. Resolved that the agenda for the council meeting of June 24th, 2021 be approved. All in favor? That's carried. And good evening, everyone from Niagara Power Incorporation. First up, we're going to have Kurt. Welcome, Kurt.
Thank you. Before I call it to order, so this is the annual general meeting. Previous document would have said it was June 7th, 2021. We did reschedule, you recall from last week. So it's June 14th for the year ending December 31st, 2020. So I'll call that annual general meeting to order and ask if there are any declarations of conflict now, or if you find yourself in one, you can raise it with me as we move through the agenda. Does anybody have a conflict they want to raise at this point? Okay. Approval of the agenda. Rob Hatton, if I forget you to move the agenda, please.
Yeah, I move that the agenda for the Niagara Power Incorporated annual general meeting being held today on June 14th, 2020 be approved with the minor friendly amendment, if we could, of just adding new business at the end of the agenda, should any come forward.
Okay. A seconder for that?
I would second that motion.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed of any? Thank you. So that's carried. Okay. Minutes from our previous AGM.
I move that the minutes for the Niagara Power Inc. AGM annual general meeting held on October 7th, 2020 be approved as presented.
Yeah. Second, Rob Hatton.
Rob Hatton, second.
May I just note something?
Yeah, I see that. It's October the 7th. Yeah.
I have one other amendment to the minutes that I picked up in reading.
Yeah.
Jim Houghton was taking our minutes last time and was actually in attendance because he was the recording secretary, but he's not noted in our minutes as being present. So
okay,
if we could just make that amendment to the minutes.
Okay, we can do that. So Glenn, can you just move them with that change?
I move that the minutes for the Niagara Power Inc. annual general meeting held on October 7th, 2020, that's correct, I believe, be approved as presented and amended.
Thank you. Rob Hatton.
I second that motion, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll move into presentation of the financial statements. We have David Marks here from KPMG. Welcome, David. David, do you have control of the screen so you can scroll, or Donna, can we give David control so he can scroll through?
Yes, I can request to share my screen if that's all right with you.
Yeah.
And I'll share the financial statements.
Donna, is that okay?
David, I just made you a co-host to share your screen.
Great, thank you. Okay, if you can confirm that you can see the financial statements.
Yep, we're good.
Okay,
Yep.
Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you. So I will just start off with some opening comments. So Thank you first for having me here. Happy to attend and present the statements for you for the AGM. So we'll like to say that we have been the auditors for the entity and have completed our audit. We issued our audit opinion on May 4th, 2021 for Niagara Power Incorporated and the consolidated financial statements, which includes their subsidiary Grimsby Power Incorporated. It was a clean audit opinion. And I'll just scroll down slightly here so that you can see our opinion. Clean audit opinion, which is an unmodified or unqualified audit opinion, which says that the financial statements fairly represent the transactions of the entity, for the period as reported and are fairly disclosed and presented within these financial statements. We'll go through a couple of things on the balance sheet and the income statement, just a very high level. The financial statements have been prepared in accordance with IFRS accounting standards, which is applicable for the entity. And so that is the framework that we use in order to record the transactions. So the statement of financial position, the balance sheet displays all the assets and liabilities, of the corporation. It also includes the regulatory assets and regulatory liabilities, which reflect all the transactions that are for the OEB and the LDC regulated business. The movement of those, ultimately will be passed on to ratepayers as they're settled, in future years. So you can see here, total assets are about $41 million, current assets of that being about $7 million, for the year ended December 31st, 2020. As I move down to the liabilities, all the liabilities of the corporation are shown here. We've got current liabilities of 5.7 million. So a good ratio of current assets to current liabilities, which will enable the corporation to meet the current obligations as they come due. Okay, down in this bottom section is where you see the regulatory balances, and those are the liabilities. So they are split out between regulatory assets and regulatory liabilities, as appropriate under the accounting framework. Okay, I'll quickly move to the statement of comprehensive income. So this shows all the revenues and expenses of the corporation for the year. You'll see that up in the top section, a few different parts. The sale of energy and cost of power are really related together. Important to view, as you're looking at this. And really, the increase from one year to the next is, where the true cost of power has been displayed on the invoices. And so it looks like there's a large change, but that is just a kind of a change that has been instructed through and flowing through the entity. So all of these costs of sale of energy and the cost of the power ultimately flows through to the ratepayer, and any differences from this get captured in some of those regulated balances, regulatory assets or liabilities that we talked about before. The real portion that the utility is able to kind of keep for themselves essentially is this distribution revenue, which is the hydro's portion that they're able to retain, offset by operating expenses that they have. So at the end of the year, we see operating income from operating activities of $900,000, some other ancillary amounts with finance and bad debts, for a total net income for the end of the year of $356,000 for the year. Okay, and when considering the movement in the regulatory balances, we come to a final net income, including those regulatory movements, of $731,000 in the year. Okay, move on to the cash flow statement. So we'll skip this. This shows the operating activities where cash has been generated or utilized, within the corporation. So you can see from operating activities, $1.2 million of cash changed, from one year to the next, and that was utilized, in the purchase of, property, plant, and equipment, for the utility of almost $1.9 million. And then there was some additional financing that was received, net financing of $1.3 million. So at the end of the year, an increase in cash, from one year to the next, of just under $300,000 to bring the total cash balance to $1.3 million. Okay. I won't go through any of the details of the notes. The notes are consistent with what we've seen in previous years. Obviously updated for balances and transactions. A little bit more disclosure with regards to the current environment, changes that have happened. A little bit of update of the risks due to COVID, etc. That has happened during the course of the year. But happy to answer any questions on that, should you have any, but wanted to keep this at a fairly high level, for you. And the final thing that I would just like to say is that we've had, confirmed our independence, had our discussions with those charged with governance, those that are on this call this evening, and fulfill their duties as auditor to have those discussions and maintain our independence from the organization for the duration of our appointment as auditors. Okay. So with that, Kurt, I'll put it back to you and see if there's any other questions that may arise.
Okay, thanks, David. Yeah, if there's any questions for David from a financial accounting perspective, Mura Domikos, who's the senior finance person with us, is also on the call. She could answer any more operational finance questions you got. Are there any questions from the floor that people have to clarify anything? Okay. Last call for that. All right, thank you. Seeing none. So we'll get to moving these financial statements in a moment. In terms of auditor recommendation, KPMG is now, this is a second time they've been through closing our year, and they do both the books for Grimsby Power Inc. as well as Niagara Power Inc. And you'll see down here in the resolutions of the voting shareholder that are recommending that we retain them for the following year as well. So to the annual resolutions of the voting shareholder, we have 3 of them. I'll just go through them one by one and start with the financial statements. Delight, could I get you to move the financial statements, please?
Absolutely. I would move that the audited consolidated financial statements of Niagara Power for the financial year ended December 31st, 2020 be approved as presented.
Okay, seconder?
I second that motion.
Glenn King, okay, thank you. Questions? All in favor? Opposed, if any? So moved, thank you. Appointment of the auditors. Rob, could you make the motion on the appointment of KPMG, please?
I'd be pleased to, Mr. Chair. I move that KPMG LLP is appointed as the auditors of Niagara Power Incorporated in respect of its current fiscal year.
Okay, seconder, Glenn?
I second that motion.
Okay, questions? All in favor? So moved, thank you. Last thing we need to do is confirmation of proceedings. Glenn, could you make a motion on that, please?
I move that all bylaws, contracts, acts, proceedings, appointments, elections, payments of the board of directors and officers of the corporation enacted, made, done, or taken since January 1, 2020 be, and the same are approved, ratified, sanctioned, and confirmed.
Okay, seconder, Delight?
I would second that.
Can I ask a question about this?
Absolutely.
So my question is with regards to who are the officers of the company?
Myself and Delight is treasurer and secretary.
And when were they elected and what are the terms?
We
Are
do
they,
officer elections every year, so we would have done it at a board meeting recently.
when will they be elected next?
In
In the next board?
Well, no, officers, no, we would do it. They would now officially be elected for the coming year. So we would do it on an annual basis in and around the springtime, typically, as we lead up to AGMs. So it's typically done, Councillor Sharp. You know, if we're reviewing the financial statements and we recommend them to the shareholder, typically in that meeting, we would also elect our officers.
Do we have a secretary? Is that an officer?
Treasurer and secretary. There's a combined role.
Who's the secretary?
Treasurer and secretary is Delight Devoli.
Oh, they're the same role? Okay.
Yeah, just because of the size, the board's small, so you would typically combine. Those are the two mandatory positions we have. So, and I'm chair, of course.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, Delight, could you second that motion on confirmation?
Did.
Okay.
I thought I did.
Yeah, I think you did. Sorry, I just got hung up. Any other questions? Okay, all in favor? Opposed of any? So moved. Okay, there was a small addition made to the agenda on new business. Is there any new business for the annual general meeting?
Kurt, could I say a few words?
Sure. Can we just maybe give me a topic so
Yes, actually, this evening, it is my intent to offer my formal resignation as the director of Niagara Power, and effective as of tonight. I do have to say, after much soul searching in the last few weeks, have decided it's time to end. At this time, I also speak for Rob Hatton and Leanne Vardy too. I wanted to say it's been such a pleasure to work with the board and our chair. Truly, I think we accomplished so much in the 21 months that we were directors with you. You know, we fulfilled the remaining conditions of the purchase and sale agreement by working as a special committee of Niagara Power. We managed to recoup $1.7 million for Niagara Power of the monies owed to it. We continue to support the lawsuit in our role as Niagara Power of being a plaintiff to the lawsuit. We literally came to the conclusion and researched and figured out which was the correct unanimous shareholder agreement that the company should be living by. And even today's meeting in a public forum like this is the ongoing work of the board that we wanted to achieve, you know, accountability and transparency. And of course, in addition to that, we also, you know, we're directors and had to be concerned with other matters going on in the corporation too. And so I really believe we fulfilled our role as a holding company to, you know, evaluate the investment, to provide information to council with respect to the risks and rewards of owning this entity. Pardon me. But I believe I do especially believe that it is important that when we carry out our responsibilities, we always do so in accordance with the law, and especially in accordance with the Ontario Business Corporations Act. And so our resignation today really is to assist the company and the town of Grimsby in complying with the act. That has been a struggle in the last few weeks. Just as importantly, though, I find myself especially, and I'll let the other two speak for themselves too, but that we certainly have some philosophical differences with council, perhaps just the majority of council, but with council, and certainly find ourselves disagreeing on some key matters, which have also played a very big part in my personal decision to resign at this time. I wanted to acknowledge all of the board members that we've worked with in the last 21 months. Kurt and Glenn, Jim Howden and Jim Bowman. Certainly my thanks to Rob and Leanne, and to Mayor Jordan, who sat on the board together It has truly been such a pleasure to work with all of you. Everyone brings such substantial talents to the table, and your expertise, your honesty, your integrity, your professionalism, all of those were very much appreciated. And I can only say that, you know, I personally hope to take that with me to emulate it going forward. To thank council, this was my fourth board we sat on since your term began, and to thank you for the opportunity to work with council and to serve our community. And I truly do wish you all the best going forward.
Okay. Anybody else? No other new business? Okay, seeing that, I'll call for adjournment.
Rob had his hand up, sorry. Rob had his hand up.
Okay.
Yeah, Kurt, I just want to express similar sentiments to Delight. And it really has been a wonderful exercise. The issue for us going forward as a director, do you leave the spot in which you found it? And we believe we did. And for that, you know, the shareholder and the people of Grimsby are better off. We're now at a crossroads where other bigger matters have to be decided. Really, that's in the purview of council. We will leave it to them. And it really has been an honor. We appreciate the guidance and tutelage that you have provided as NPI chair. Certainly with Glenn and Councillor Mayor Jordan, you know, and if I can just speak momentarily, Jeff, thank you very much for all your guidance along the way. That's been highly appreciative. Anyway, it's just time, and we just move forward. So thank you all, appreciate it, and see you soon.
And if I may, Kurt, just like to echo what Delight and Rob have stated, and it's been a personal pleasure to make a contribution to the town in this way, and you know, with all the past work of directorship. So wish NPI all the best in the future.
Okay, any other new business? Okay, seeing none. Rob, could you move for adjournment, please?
Yes, I make a motion to adjourn the 2021 AGM of Niagara Power Incorporated.
Okay, Glenn, seconder.
I second that motion.
Okay, any questions? All in favor? Opposed of any? Okay, thank you. Okay, so that concludes the formal agenda. So Niagara Power will be sort of, we're off the official schedule here now. So you're now going to be getting a separate information session from Remy Fernandez, CEO of Grimsby Power, Inc. And which is kind of our tradition, but it's not part of the AGM per se. It is very much just an operational update from Remy. So
Kurt, prior to Remy giving his report, I would just like to take this moment to acknowledge the efforts of the Grimsby Power staff, from outside line crews to the office personnel to senior management. Through this last year and a half or more of COVID disruption, they have done an excellent job in maintaining the standard of service that we've come to expect here in Grimsby. And as with all organizations, the key to success has been the willingness to adapt to circumstances beyond anyone's control. And staff have demonstrated that willingness and the ability to make it work. They did well. Remy, I will now turn to you for your update. Thank you.
If we can get the controls for the PowerPoint. Okay, thank you, Phil. Good evening, Mayor Jeff Jordan, Council and board members. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you this evening. Today, as we navigate changes to activities around COVID-19, our staff continue to work around the clock to maintain the high quality of service that we provide our customers. Today's agenda, very briefly, will be focusing on the performance of the company, capital investments, and reliability, and steps taken to address customer expectations. In terms of health and safety, that's our cornerstone of the work that we do in this environment. We work with high voltage lines. So health and safety is the most crucial component that guides our organization. And since 2008, we have worked over 408,000 hours without a lost time incident. In 2018, we also received the IHSA award for our safety efforts. Also, in response to the Electrical Safety Association audit, which is the 2204 compliance, we demonstrated that we had completed a successful program. In terms of our employees, we feel that Grimsby Power is a top performing utility, serving a high number of customers. And the illustration shows a comparison between utilities that are for similar size, also in the same region, and also compared to large-sized utilities. We've done very well. In terms of Ontario Energy Board rating, in terms of the PEG rating, the Pacific Economics Group, they conduct a study on behalf of all 59 utilities, and they rate each utility. Grimsby Power is currently placed in the top group, Group 1 for efficiency. And it's one of only 7 utility companies that have been placed in this group. So our focus has always been on reasonable costs, and that has made our company more cost effective each year. Further, surrounding utilities, the average OM&A cost per customer is $326. And whilst Grimsby Power's OM&A cost per customer in 2019 was $277. I know KPMG has gone through some of the consolidated statements, but focusing just on Grimsby Power, with the 20 statement, the sales of electricity stands at 35.8 million. Our distribution revenue, which he alluded to, is the money that we use to operate the company, and that's at 5.8 million, along with other operating revenue at 345,000. Our net revenue for 2020 was at 6.2 million. And taking into consideration our expenses, our net income for the year at 2020 is 763,000. In terms of operating cash flow, in terms of operating values, financing and investing activities, in terms of operating, GPI was able to generate 1.6 million in cash from overall day-to-day operations. In terms of investing, the company utilized $1.9 million in cash on infrastructure. It's investing activities, as we refer to. It's used to maintain the distribution system, enhance and upgrade equipment. And in terms of financing, GPI utilized $1 million to repay borrowings. Overall, for 2020, there was a net draw on cash of 69,000. Cash generated from distribution is often used to support capital and paying current operating costs and to pay a dividend. This year, we paid NPI a dividend of 200,000. In terms of total revenue versus GPI revenue, near the before, go to the previous one. We collected 40.3 million in revenue. Of that, Grimsby Power only retains 6.1 million. The remainder is a flow through to the IESO and Hydro One. GPI retains approximately 15% of the total revenue. The distribution revenue from residential customers is fixed and does not increase due to any changes in the total bill. The total bill of $100, if you have a total bill of $100, we retain $30. If the bill is $200, we still retain $30, just to give you an idea. On the next slide, you will see the cross section of capital investments, net income, and return on equity. We started in 2016 with 1.12 million, and in 2019, we spent 2.2 million. And in 2020, it was reduced due to COVID and building of the third feeder that we were not able to. Our net income in 2019, we had one of the highest net incomes, totaling 1.124 million. And in 2020, we had a net income, as mentioned, 763,000. In terms of the ROE, in 2019, we were at 10.02%, And in 2020, the ROE is at 8.12%. In terms of planning for our system, when evaluating the condition of our assets, in 2018, GPI engaged an independent company, Kinetrix, to perform an asset condition assessment. In 2021, we developed a 5-year distribution systems plan reflecting the ACA, or the asset condition assessment, in line with OEB guidelines. Every 5 years, this is the cost of service application. Utilities are required to submit a cost of service application in order to rebase rates that are reflective of future expenditures. Currently, GPI is in the application process and will be submitting our cost of service application to the Ontario Energy Board by July 31st, 2021. It's an extremely busy time for staff, among other challenges. I just wanted to also take some time to speak about some major projects that we are working on. For Governor's Road, that consists of installing underground primary and secondary conductor and duct, complete with transformers from Main Street up to Dorchester Drive. As well as we have rear lot services that are extremely difficult to maintain and replace. So the project is supposed to be completed by the end of this year. Then we've got the third feeder, which construction plans are underway to install the third feeder from the Niagara West station. This route is north on Grimsby Road 12, west on Yonge Street, north on Grimsby Road, connecting to our infrastructure on Mudge Street. Materials have been ordered, including 75 poles and 3.3 kilometers of new overhead feeder conductor. The project is supposed to be completed by November 30th, 2021. We've got 2 other projects that I wanted to identify. One is the CNR railway feeder relocation. This was along the CNR tracks installed in 1949. As you can understand, it creates operational difficulties in addressing any feeder issues. The completion of this civil and electrical for the first phase is to be completed by the end of 2021 as well. And for Ridge Road conversion project, we've completed this one already, which we are upgrading our 8 kV lines to a higher voltage at 16 kV. In terms of reliability, our performance standards pertaining to reliability, we have to be it's regulated by the Ontario Energy Board. So we use a number of ways of communicating with our outage response team and with customers using this outage portal. This is an effective visual representation of outages, and you can visit grimsbypower.com and select power out to locate outages. We also, each year for maintenance, we use our GIS system to track the areas that we inspect. By completing electronic forms, we track the conditions of poles, transformers, overhead and underground, switches, and other Grimsby Power assets in the fields. We use this information to construct further on future capital projects. In terms of outages, as you're all aware with the recent outage at Nellis and Maine, and thank you to many of you who reached out to us, our crews had to fix down power lines and we had about 2,600 customers out of power. We were pleased to have restored that in a timely and in a safe manner. On an average, Grimsby Power customers had their power interrupted 1.44 times for a total of 1.82 hours in the last 5 years. We have made improvements to reduce the duration and frequency of outages. Those improvements include major effort with tree trimming around our lines, replacing wood poles, transformers, and switches. In 2020, we had reduced outages to 0.64 times for a total of 0.92 hours. It's a great improvement compared to 2019, where we had 5 times for a total of 3.44 hours. Meeting customer expectations, customers have told us we need fewer outages with shorter durations, more communication with better technology, easier to use websites, lower bills, presence on social media, to stay local, and to have timely bill deliveries. We have responded by increasing spending on aging infrastructure and capital projects. We've upgraded our phone systems, added automated messages during larger outages, updated our websites, and increased use of social media. We've also designed website forms to make them more user-friendly, and now our website includes outage information as well. We continue to promote programs to help lower electricity bills, and in 2021, upgrading our current e-billing and consumption portal so that information is just one click away. In terms of meeting customer expectations, we published a number of industry published stats when comparing ourselves to other utilities, and our customer staff have constantly responded well to customer calls. As you can see, Grimsby Power staff worked in 2019 to serve our customers to answer 90% of phone calls within 30 seconds. In terms of managing customer expectations, specifically with power rates compared to other 59 utilities, the average distribution revenue received by residential customers in Ontario was $385. Grimsby Power collected $339 per residential customers. We are 12% lower. The average distribution revenue by LDCs from other commercial customers in Ontario was $813. We collected $725. We are 11% lower. And the average distribution revenue received from LDCs from large commercial customers was $11,942, while we collected $6,973. Good place to do business. So summarizing, in terms of meeting customer expectations, we do provide value to our customers. We are a local provider and an asset to the Grimsby community. Through lower distribution rates, we maintain our services. From 2011 to 2020, we contributed to NPI an average of $202,000 a year for the last 10 years. And since 2001, GPI paid the town of Grimsby interest on the promissory note in the amount of $6.91 million. We've had extensive community programs and engagement exercise with customers, and our crews are always on call 24/7 times 365. So to conclude, our vision has been to be adaptable, to provide economical energy, to be in business for our customers, and to be a locally owned asset to the community. We provide reliable, less expensive power in Ontario while serving a higher number of customers. Our investments made today benefit existing and future customers. We consider GPI among the top performers, leading in many of the performance indices that I spoke to you about. We do more with less and pass the savings to our customers. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Remy.
Any questions that I can answer? I'd be pleased to do that.
If there's any questions from council. Councillor Cadwell.
Yeah, thank you very much, Remy, for the presentation. It's a good news story. Just got a question because I was just by there on the weekend. The former biodigester, the property Escarpment, I apologize, I don't know the exact company name. Are they now, have they been putting hydro into the grid yet? Or what's the status of that company with regards to Grimsby Power, Remy? Thanks.
Yes, yes, Councillor Dave Cadwell. Yes, they are producing electricity. I know that I'm not completely familiar with the consumption and the demand, but I can ask Miura if you're aware of any of those parameters, Miura.
So, because with the ISO, the movement from the biodigest to the new company was not done until recently. We just found it that we have to pay around $300,000 for the.
Yeah, okay.
No, you have to close your boat.
I did.
No. Okay, so we will pay first this new company, and then we'll get the money from the ISO. So short story, for the time it was transferred from the biodigest to this new company, all the paperwork was not done by the former biodigest and new company. And right now they are officially with the ISO and registered and as a generator of electricity. And we are in the position right now to give the amount of money that we owe to them.
So thanks, Mira. So we owe them money for, again,
yes. So
just to understand it.
Yeah, we owe the money, but the money, you have to understand, all this money then will be on the next ISO invoice and we'll get from the ISO money back. So
Okay.
it will be first we'll pay them and then we'll get the money from the ISO. Yes.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, thanks, Mior. No, again, the reason I asked is I did go by on the weekend. The place looks great. I'm very impressed of how they've the work they've done to their facility there. You know, as I was looking at that, I was thinking about the sad state of affairs. The other biodigester, how it looked. I mean, they've got a nice berm around there. They've got it secure. It's fenced in properly. So yeah, thank you very much for that information. Again, I was just by there and just want to ask a question with regards to their business plan tied in with Grimsby Power. Thank you very much.
Yeah, the company is called Escarpment Renewables. Councillor Vane.
Thank you.
I want to start off by thanking you, Remy, and all of your staff for excellent job. I mean, I've had nothing but compliments about the work you do. I want to thank Phil and all the board members and the NPI board for all the work they've done. I think you've all done a fantastic job and put us in a good spot, and I appreciate that. I do have one question for you, Remy, and it just stuck in my head as we were going through. I'm looking at all these numbers and I'm reading all the different statements as quickly as I can. And the one thing that jumped out at me is, and the only reason I'm questioning is because it's operational, but it's administration. Your administration in general went up $250,000 last year. Was there a specific reason for that, or?
Yeah. In terms of administration, hold on a second, there's something on the mic. You're going to speak? Yeah, in terms last year, we obviously, because of we had a whole bunch of administration in terms of consulting. We had to do some work for the design of the third feeder. We also had to had consulting for, we had staff that were not available, so we had to do some design work outside the third feeder as well. And then we've had some issues related to the cost of service as well. So the administration costs have gone up as a comparator to the year previously.
Thank you.
Seeing no further questions from council. Thank you very much, Remy, for your presentation. It's certainly a good news story, and I'm happy with all the work you and your staff are doing. Great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So that concludes the formal part. Our next meeting is scheduled for June 21st, 2021, following the committee of the whole. And we need a mover and seconder for the confirming bylaw. Oh, we need a mover and seconder to receive the presentation and the AGM. Moved by Councillor Vane, seconder, Councillor Cadwell. Moved by Councillor Vane, second by Councillor Cadwell. Resolved that the delegation by Niagara Power Incorporated, NPI, AGM be received. All in favor? That's carried. Got a little ahead of myself there. Now we need a mover and seconder for first reading of the confirming bylaw. Moved by Councillor Sharp. Seconder, Councillor Vane. Moved by Councillor Sharp, second by Councillor Vane. Resolved that leave be given to introduce bylaw 21-42 and that same be read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. Need a mover and seconder for second and third reading. Moved by Councillor Frake, second by Councillor Vardy. Moved by Councillor Frake, second by Councillor Vardy. Resolved that leave be given to introduce bylaw 2142 read a first time, be now read a second time and third time, and finally passed, and that the mayor and town clerk do sign and seal the same, and rule council to the contrary notwithstanding. All in favor? That's carried. Good night, everyone. Meeting is adjourned.
Thanks. Good night.